Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. An observation while I was, skimming through the articles, I noticed that now the proportion of articles covering Ukraine has decreased, and the articles covering Israel increased. And in the Western media, I think right now is Ukrainians, let's say, 20% of the market of news, 80% is the other side. I know. Some of you might say, well, it just happened and that's a lot of casualties and so on. Yes, there are a lot of casualties, but the number of casualties on this side, I think, is daily occurrence over there. So probably we got used to that one, and this is now more important for us to know what's going on over there. That's why they're going to give us the information that we need to know. So I have here one article with some updates. I was reading some other little articles just to make to have an understanding of what happened the past 24 hours in Israel, and I will give you this short update. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little story. When I was a kid, I was a crazy kid, and I was always getting in trouble at school, in a neighborhood. Anyway, so I remember that at the beginning, which is the beginning, when I started telling my parents that my neighbor beat me at school, I got beaten by the teacher and so on. I remember, so I was the victim. When I was telling my parents, my first question my father would ask would be, "What did you do?" Yeah, I did something, and then I got smacked. My mom would smack me, okay? My dad would not smack me. My mom would smack me a lot. She says no, but I remember better. So anyway, so nevertheless, my first question was that. What's interesting here is that in this war, what now started in Israel, we know that one side was smacked by the evil Hamas. And I don't hear this, the question is never asked, because by default, it's like me. Daddy, nothing happened, I didn't do anything. I'm just a victim, okay? So that's one observation. Don't you think that you might ask this question, or by default the other side is just the aggressor and you never ask that question? And the other point I want to make is I've never met an entity being all good or all bad. We all make mistakes. Well, it seems this being linked to the first issue I discussed at the beginning of this video. It seems that there are some entities out there that we are told that they are doing no harm. And the third point I want to make, self-defense doesn't give you the right to expand that to a certain level. For instance, if someone wants to beat me up, okay, and I defend myself, right? I defend the right to defend myself. I'm for it 100%. But I'm not going to eliminate this threat, and I'm going to go to his family. I'm going to eliminate that threat, and I'm going to go and burn their house, and then go to the extended family and take care of them and all that. I mean, all in the name of self-defense. My point is, yes, you have the right of self-defense 100%, but also it's a limit beyond which it's not called self-defense anymore. Well, it seems like here is like this. Self-defense, your Pearl Harbor. I've been reading some guys here in America, some politicians saying it's your this is McCartney, the ousted Speaker of the House, says this is Israel's Pearl Harbor. So that the conclusion is going to use nuclear weapons or atomic bombs. Now they have nuclear weapons. Not Israel. Israel doesn't have nuclear weapons. Nothing official. Is that what it is? So these guys are idiots, nevertheless. So that's my point. Never do anything wrong. You have the right to self-defense, And as I said, never ask certain questions that you would always ask. It goes without saying. So let's go. I'm not trying to blame anyone here, but if you don't try to find out what happened, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. You're just going to tell half of the story, and then obviously that's not going to be the whole story, and that's dangerous. So let's go and read this little article here, which comes from Associated Press. Israel Security Council says country at war with Hamas and authorities significant military steps. So they already the state of Israel, the Jewish state, how they like to call themselves, for certain reasons, and I'm not going to get into here. That's their right to call themselves however they want, but other people have the right to interpret it in a certain way. So why don't you hear the German state or the Romanian state? But you hear always attach that. I just wonder. I don't know. Maybe you give me the answer. So here we have this, and I want to point out that right here, Israeli media says at least 600 people have been killed in the surprise cross-border incursion by Hamas militants from Gaza Strip. And here it says at least 600 people have reported being killed in Israel, a staggering toll on a scale the country has not experienced in decades. And more than 300 have been killed in Gaza. You know what's interesting? We know these numbers, and some of them were numbers of 234, blah, 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 like right here. These guys have the data available, but in Ukraine, somehow we don't know how many Ukrainians really died or were killed, or what were the casualties. What does that tell you? Well, it can tell you a lot of things. One, they don't want us to know, but they want us to know this one. How do you think? Which I don't think. I don't think that those guys do not know, or the media, the Western media, do not know how many casualties Ukraine had. I think that's impossible not to know. They don't publish it. That's what it is. But they know. Why? Because there are other people who know it and say it further, and media knows it. The problem, the issue with that is they do not publish that. None of them. And I'm not talking about me or Gigi or Mikey on YouTube or some, I don't know, Al Jazeera or... No. I'm talking about CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, BBC, things like this. But you can find the number of the Russians now at the number 3 over there, 283,723. To the 3 you find it. But over there, estimates, no, zip it. That tells you how free the media is. And here in how do you call it, in Israel, again, look at this. Civilian paid a staggering cost for the violence of both sides. Several Israeli media outlets citing rescue services officials said that at least 600 people were killed in Israel, including 44, exactly. 44, not 43, not 45. While officials in Gaza said 313 people had died in the territory. Some 2,000 people have been wounded on each side. An Israeli official said security forces have killed 400 militants and captured dozens more. Interesting. They call them here militants, and some call them terrorists. Now, which one is it? Why do you use it differently? This is Associated Press, so I don't know. So, yes, Israel is getting ready to really go for the long haul. As I said before, they will flatten the Gaza, and they will try to get rid of those guys. Now, those guys are not like 3 or 4 or 5, and it seems like there's also how do you call it, a vision, an ideology, and there are some people supporting that with their heart, and it's hard to get that out of their hearts unless you carve it out. And I think this is what these guys are trying to do. It's interesting, and we're gonna hear more news of how many exact victims were and this and that, and I wonder how that's possible over there, but it's not possible in Ukraine. Just makes you wonder. I read all kind of garbage articles written by all kind of weasels trying to profit out of the suffering of both nations, like they do the same thing in Ukraine and Russia. You have articles trying to, tell us how this pregnant woman with 5 kids tried to do this and do that, and they try to muster a certain kind of sympathy or empathy, like we don't have it already, for human losses, for idiotic interests. Anyway, my friends, here it is. Obviously, United States of America was given the order and they're ready to go. I will make a video with that article in a minute. And I didn't forget about the Ukrainians and the Russians, how they are used for the same interests. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.